Do we really need to take supplements? Isn't it enough to exercise and maintain a healthy and varied diet? And aren't supplements an unnatural way of getting your nutrients? Well, it is absolutely essential that we exercise and that we eat healthy and varied foods. But modern-day diets and lifestyles are now so far removed from their natural origins that enriched foods or dietary supplements can be a way of ensuring and maintaining a nutritional balance. Hardly anything we do today can be described as natural. We eat loads of heavily processed foods. Our methods of cultivation and agriculture are more concerned with the appearance of the produce than with its nutritional value, and many of our fruits and vegetables are picked prematurely, transported halfway across the globe, and stored for weeks before they finally reach the supermarket counter. But it wasn't always like this. Let's have a quick look at how modern man has developed over the past 150,000 years. Through the first 145,000 years, we essentially ate everything we could get our hands on. Our ancestors would gather wild fruits, plants, nuts and berries, and hunt for meat and fish. But their meals would have looked quite different from what we eat today. They loved to eat the stomach and small intestine of the prey, along with the liver, heart, and bone marrow. These parts generally have a much greater nutritional value than the muscle meat, which is preferred by most people today. Modern-day fruits and vegetables are also quite different from what our ancestors picked wild from the branches. For example, the wild apple was a tiny, hard, and tart fruit, which wouldn't stand a chance in a modern-day supermarket. But its nutritional value far surpassed the highly bred apples that we mass-produce today. In the past 5,000 years, our way of life has changed drastically. In this period, we've learned to cultivate crops, keep livestock, and prepare food to make it easier to digest and conserve. As agriculture was introduced, it became possible to produce food in much greater quantities. We were suddenly able to produce considerably more than we consumed and store the excess food for long periods of time. This was a revolution for mankind and provided us with the time and energy to build pyramids, communities, and world religions. Since then, we've rapidly distanced ourselves from our natural way of life. We now live in houses and have settled in parts of the planet that would be close to impossible to inhabit without technologies to warm us up or cool us down. We need clothes to protect us from the chilling winds and the burning sun. And should we happen to catch pneumonia, we now rely on antibiotics to get us back on our feet within a few days. All of these can be considered as different supplements to our natural dispositions that enable us to live more comfortable, safe, and healthy lives. However, mass production comes at a price. Growing crops in the same spot year after year quickly leads to soil degradation as the crops deplete the soil of essential minerals faster than they can be replenished. This causes a rapid decline in mineral content in crops from generation to generation. As we became able to cross the great oceans by ship, the demand for conserved foods that could be transported and traded over long periods of time rose. Some of the first explorers died horrible deaths from the illness scurvy. Scurvy was first described during the Crusades in the early medieval ages, but has most likely been known since antiquity. It spread death on the long nautical expeditions where crew members' diets consisted only of salted meats and dry crackers, no fruits and no vegetables. In 1747, a surgeon from the English Navy by the name of James Lind conducts a trial to discover the cause of scurvy in sailors. He gives different diets to different groups of sailors before they embark on a trip. And upon their return, he concludes very simply that the only surviving participants were the ones given citrus fruits. As with many other issues in healthcare, it took quite a while before James Lind's findings would be acknowledged. But just before the turn of the century, in 1795, the Royal British Navy implemented general use of citrus juice on long expeditions. Lind's trial was one of the very first studies of dietary supplements. And more than 2 centuries ago, he proved that it was possible to compensate for deficits in our diet by supplementing with a concentrated nutrient. So, back to the question, why should we take supplements? We should do so because intensive production in food industries, combined with prolonged transportation and storage times, can reduce nutritional values in produce. Processed foods consisting largely of sugar, carbohydrates, and nutritionally poor meats make up considerable parts of many people's diets. And meanwhile, abundant use of pesticides and chemicals in agriculture increases the need for protective micronutrients. We, as a species, have always found new, ingenious ways of compensating for our natural weaknesses. Supplements are simply a way of compensating for a lower intake of nutritionally rich foods. Pharma Nord is one of Europe's leading manufacturers of dietary supplements and natural medicine for prevention. For more information, visit pharmanord.com.